So when I get up and my bed is all covered with paints from the night before, you're not really supposed to paint in your bed, but I do. I think, oh, what did I do last night? What did I create? And I go and have a look. Oh, here it is. Here's my strawberry fairy house with its little lights around it. Isn't it sweet? And it's almost like somebody else did it, or it was a dream. You know, I often create things in the night, like I was doing last night when I was showing you that I was painting these. And then when I get up and I see them, I'm like, oh wow. And it's like magic. It's like, who did that? You know, and it was me. But yeah, wow, that's exciting. So I really feel like painting a bit of that, the green. So let's do that. And actually, that brings me on to another marvellous tip, which two people taught me. One person who taught me it is my very dear friend Karen Eve, and another person who taught me that is Julia Cameron, who is a wonderful teacher of creativity. So let's see if I can find some green paint and I'll tell you about that. So nibbling is a really marvellous technique for life, and it's about just doing a little bit at a time. So a thing that trips a lot of people up, let's just put a bit of this green somewhere if I can find a space, is that they think that they need a lot of time to do something. And most people feel like they don't have any time at all. You know, most people feel like they're busy, don't they? And how likely is it that you're going to have like a spare hour or 2 hours even, which is what most people think they need in order to create things? So that's why they can't create anything, because they never have time. So does that happen to you? So I'm just going to get some clean water, because as I was telling you yesterday, you cannot paint with dirty water. You will make nasty muddy colours. So I'm just going to get some fresh water. So nibbling is when you just do a little bit at a time. Now, I've already said that you probably do not have a spare hour or 2 hour slot ever. Neither do I. But you do have, I bet you do have 5 minutes, don't you? Like, I've just got up now and I've got 5 minutes or 10 minutes before I go and start getting ready for my clients or whatever I have to do today. So you just grab that 5 or 10 minutes and nibble a little tiny piece of your project. So you just do a bit. So instead of a project being like an enormous thing that you do all in one go, it's not. It's a series of very many nibbles, which is just little bit, little bit, little bit, little bit. And you will find that you'll very quickly create stuff. So this is one of the main reasons that I create a lot of stuff, because I have time. And I have time because I'm nibbling. So I'm just going to mix a bit of lemon yellow, because remember I said I wanted to make a kind of bit of a sort of a light acidy kind of green. I think, I'm not sure yet, I'm just going to try. So Karen Eve, my friend, is one person who taught me about nibbling. So I think I'm going to go with more stripes up here, but in green, just because that seems to be what's happening. And actually Karen Eve taught me about nibbling in the context of negotiation. And her thing was, if you can't get lunch, get a sandwich. So actually what she meant was, when you're asking for something from somebody, you know, you might be asking them to buy you lunch or something, and they say no, then see what you can get. Say to them, well, okay, would you like to buy me a sandwich? So that's a nibble. That's like dividing life up into a smaller piece. So it's a very good tip, actually. And then the other person that taught me about nibbling through her books, although I did actually meet her once, is a marvellous woman, amazing woman called Julia Cameron. Now, in my world, Julia Cameron is the star of understanding and teaching the creative process. And she has marvellous books. One is called The Artist's Way. And after she wrote that book, which is a great book that teaches you some simple techniques that will free up your creativity, including writing morning pages, where you basically just dump whatever you're thinking or feeling or whatever's going on in your head onto the page to get it out of your system. She just has this incredible way of helping you not to be so blocked. So one of her techniques is also nibbling, and it is this idea that, you know, you're never going to have a big wad of time, but you are going to have many small wadges of time, okay? So I highly recommend you try it. And if you're going to do creativity, the other thing that helps, I'm just playing about here really with this. I'm just putting some stripes and different bits of these two colours of green, a darker one and a lighter one. So the other thing that helps that is when you've actually got your materials to hand, okay? So you need to have your art materials available so that when a nibbling moment arrives, you can use it. Because otherwise you're going to spend your nibbling moment, when you could actually be putting a little bit of paint or something, or modelling something, or whatever, you're going to spend the nibbling moment looking for your art materials. And that is not a productive nibble. That's a waste of time nibble. So create a place for your creativity. Now, it could be a corner of the room. I mean, if you're lucky, you'll have an art studio, but don't let that be a block. You know, don't give me that, I can't create because I don't have an art studio. Well, you know, if you need one, make it happen. Go and find one. But if you don't have one, then, for example, get a box. It could be one of those nice plastic boxes with a lid, or it could just be a free box that you just grab at the supermarket, you know, and you just put your art materials in it and stick it somewhere, stick it under the bed or in a corner or in a cupboard. And then when you have a nibbling moment, you just run to your box and grab your art materials and do something, okay? So, for example, yesterday, there was a client who was coming, or she was supposed to be coming actually. She didn't show up. Noemi, she didn't turn up. So I was waiting for her. So I was sitting looking at the rice field by my front door, my little table inside. And so I grabbed my paper clay and I made I'll show you, I made the fairy house that I made yesterday. So she didn't turn up. I was waiting for her for 5 minutes, so that was 5 minutes of time that I had to make this. And I just sat there putting the clay onto the plastic bottle that's underneath it, the bit of recycling bottle. And then she didn't turn up. So then I had a longer nibble, you know, because I was doing that. I thought, oh, I'll just carry on. So I just carried on for another 10 or 20 minutes. I think I ended up spending 45 minutes on it, and I actually finished it. So that was a good nibble. And otherwise, I would have wasted that time, wouldn't I? I'd be wasting my time sitting there waiting, but not getting anything out of it. So, yeah, there you go. So that's nibbling. And you can do nibbling with any project in your life. Usually one's life is full of a bunch of projects that we want to do. So what I suggest you do, if you want to try it, is just choose something. It might be your creativity, or it might be something else, and start a nibble. So it can be about relationships, or it can be about creativity, or it can be about something you want to achieve. And there you go. And if you know what the nibbles are, you can write them down in a list if you want, or you can just let them come to you. What's the next step? What's the next step? And that's how you progress through it, step by step. See? So that's nibbling. So I thought I'd have a go at this window actually. Another way that I get a lot of things done is that I happen to wake up very early. Now, quite a lot of my clients actually, I'm a healer, by the way, in case you didn't know that. Quite a lot of my clients have a problem with sleeping, and quite a lot of people have a problem with sleeping. And usually they're saying things like, "Oh, I can't sleep. It's awful. I can't sleep." And I'm like, "Well, why don't you just get up and make something?" And that's what I do. So I don't really need very much sleep. I very often wake up at 4 a.m. I usually wake up at 4 a.m. and quite often wake up at 4:18 a.m., which is funny. And so I think, oh, what can I do? Oh, I'll make something. So I get up like this and I paint. So what I'm doing here is I'm using my brush fairly flat, and I'm just picking up some green colour on the top of the shape that I've already got going on here. And I don't really know what I'm doing or why I'm putting green here, but now it's starting to feel like, oh, maybe there's a plant growing up it. I was thinking it was part of a design, which it might end up being, but now it seems to be like maybe there's a plant growing. So, I'm just playing with it. I really don't know what I'm doing here, So when I'm making art, I'm really in a very free space of not knowing what's going on. And I like that feeling. It's a discovery, And I just enjoy how it feels. I'm really, in a very childlike way, I'm just enjoying. I like the feeling of how the paintbrush feels when it hits the edges of this, and I like the spontaneity of just seeing what happens. Like the paint isn't going in this area and it is going here, and I'm just like, this is fun, I'm just feeling it. It's just like if you put your hands in pastry and just feel how it's squishy, and that's the nice feeling, So it's really getting into the inner child and just feeling it, So there you go. So there's nothing really going on here about what I should be doing and how it should be, blah blah, It's just like, oh. And as I mentioned before, if I paint something and I don't like it, I can repaint it. Now, it's better, if possible, that the painting just happens and then I leave it, because then it will have more freshness, you see. And that's something that I try to do. But if I paint something and I really don't like it, or I make a little mistake, I can paint it out. I can just paint it back to white and start again. So can you. So I don't have to spend any time sort of giving myself a hard time that, oh no, I've done it wrong, I've ruined it. I don't have to do that. Neither do you. So here we go. So let's play about with a bit of green here and just see what happens. And like I was saying before, I keep going until I don't know what to do. So if I run out of inspiration of, ooh, I think I'll do this, I stop. Because if I'm doing something without inspiration, then it's probably not going to look very nice, you know. So I'll just stop if I'm not sure what to do next. And I suggest you try doing the same, and then I'll just come back to it again when I feel fresh, you know. I'll just come back to it. I'm just going to put some subtle bits of this darker green here and just see what happens if I'm wondering now if I use my brush sideways and pick up a darker colour on top of this, just to show this modelling that I've done, which is where I just stuck my nail in it. I just went in the clay, when it was wet, I just went dunk, 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 dunk with my nail to create the impression of shutters. So these shutters, they're like little ears sticking out of either side of the window, they're supposed to look like ears as well, because it's a sort of elfy, gnomey house. I'm sort of alluding to the fact that elves have pointy ears that stick out. So why wouldn't they have a house that has windows that look like that, you know? So it's a little bit of humour. So, you know, it's the humour of things. I didn't have to tell you the joke. I can show you it in the shape, and you might not consciously realise that, but some part of you will probably find it funny, you know, in a subtle way. Oh, here we go. Oh, this is nice. You get very excited when the paint is doing interesting things, you know. It just does what it does, you know, and you just enjoy it. So I could paint a little darker under the eaves, which is what I was doing before when I was painting purple on the side of the mushroom house. Just go in here a little bit dark, just to emphasise the fact that there's a shadow there. So this is art painting. I'm not painting it flat. I'm using light and dark shades to emphasise the shape, to tell you it goes in here. Now, we know it goes in there, but now you really know more, do you see? Because I've made more shadow there. And I could also do that here, where there's an indentation in these leaves. So they start to look a little bit like cabbage leaves, actually. They're not supposed to be cabbage leaves, they're supposed to be the leaves on top of a strawberry. But the leaves on top of a strawberry are a very, very dark green, and I don't know that I want to go that dark. I think I want it to stay relatively light. And you don't need to get hung up on what colour to use, you know. I think most artists, we just find colours, like when we buy our paints, we just find colours that we like. But there are some colours that, you know, I would say are sort of necessary, you know. For me, you know, it depends what colours you like to paint with, but lemon yellow, sorry, excuse me, which is a very fresh, light yellow, is very necessary, and here it is. So you see it's very, very bright acidy yellow. You need that so that you can make bright colours. If you want to make a very, very bright white, you can add a tiny touch of lemon yellow to it, and it will make it very, very bright. Which isn't surprising, because actually light yellow like that is the colour of sharp clarity. So I guess it would look bright, wouldn't it? Now, let's see. There we go. Let's do a bit more. stripy thing here. And I'm also thinking of, you know, leaves that have stripes on them or lines on them. Some leaves do, don't they? Like mother-in-law's tongue, it's a stripy leaf, and then there's other stripy things like watermelons and things. Right, so maybe a little bit of light green could sort of go there. Let's see. Oh yes. So my green, it's really more yellow than green. It's lemon with a little bit of this green in it, which is just whatever green I had to hand. What is that? I can't see, it's too early. Light green. Well, there you go. It's just called light green. But like I say, don't get hung up on it. Any green will do. Now, because actually it's the lemon that's driving it. You could even just put a tiny touch of blue in it to get this light colour. And then I'm going to pick up just mostly lemon. I think, yeah, just a little bit, and maybe fill in a bit somewhere. Ooh, it's coming very bright. But now I want to know what happens if I put that. So, you know, I'm in my inner child when I'm painting. Don't try and paint when you're in your masculine. So there are different parts of the self. There are 8. This is something that I've discovered. It's part of my teaching, which is called The Gift of Harmony. So you can go and look that up if you're interested. So you don't want to be in your masculine when you're painting. So the masculine is the one that gets things done in your life, or is supposed to be. But in most people's lives, in most people's headspace, the masculine is actually... I'm just going to add a bit of white actually to the lemon, I think. The masculine is much too active. That's the thinking, doing part of you. And it's normally the one that feels not good enough, so it's going to just do not good enough all over your art if you let it. So you must come out of that part and get into the child and allow yourself to play. So I'm in my inner child. Most people don't spend very much time in their inner child. So practice that. I suggest you practice. Oh, a bit pinky orange here by accident. I'll just see what happens if I carry on with that down here. Okay. Right. So there, we've nibbled a bit. We've nibbled a bit of the green onto the strawberry. Let's take it over and set it down here and have a go at putting the lights in it. Hang on a sec. So I'm just going to put the fairy lights inside. Obviously I've left a space inside for lights because I want my fairy village to light up. Okay, so let me see here what I'm doing. I don't have a way for the lights to stay inside yet. Oh, it's super cute. It's going to be lovely. And then it's going to be standing near, probably, my mushroom house, which is here. And to create a kind of unity in my village, I'll probably have some similar colours happening on different things. So you can see I've got this kind of funny cream colour I was painting yesterday here on the mushroom house, which is quite close to the yellow on there. So I might put a few touches of green on there so that they look like they belong together. And you'll see that, you know, it has lots of different sides. It's not uniform. So I'll be able to turn them round, and they'll have different looks. So actually this strawberry house is designed to go over the railway, which is fun.
because then the little train can go through it. So it'll go do-do-do-do-do. It'll go through there, you see. It'll go through it, and that will be amusing. It's the idea of the elves looking down on the railway. So that's it. That's my nibble for now. So what can you nibble today? Oh, if you can see in the garden, that's my landlady. She's walking around with the offerings, which is a beautiful thing that she does every morning. She goes and puts little leaves and flowers everywhere with a sweet little prayer for good luck. It's very nice. Right, so Strawberry House, rock and roll. Quite happy with that.